All right, boys, back out here. I am having a nervous breakdown. Look how messy this place is. I have no idea where anything's at. This is hands down the worst it's been. I know I've said this before, but every time I've said it in the past, it was not even a third as messy as it is right now. I don't know where anything's at. Like, every tool's out. I literally just have a toolbox open. All right, I'm gonna clean up for about an hour. I'll bring you right back. All right, cleaned up the shop. Feels so much better. Now I can actually get something done. Is that part of the subframe I took out? I'm gonna clean this all up. It's just covered in oil pretty much. I'm gonna degrease that. Also gotta put the timing belt cover back on and all these pulleys. By the way, this degreaser by WD-40 is awesome. You just wipe it down with like a towel and then spray it and then wipe it down again. You can't even tell that there's anything on here. So just a heads up, if you gotta clean up some oil or some grease, this works pretty good. This is pretty stupid that you gotta take this motor mount out to get to that one bolt. You guys know how many times I thought about cutting this one corner off? It would still cover everything. I just can't bring myself to do it. If you just cut that corner off, you would never have to take that motor mount off again. 2 bolts to put that tension on. It's gotta go right there in front of the power steering pump. Belts are on. Gotta put these covers on. Oh, I gotta still put my dipstick back in. Forgot all about that. I set it there so I wouldn't forget to do it. All right, boys, got it all back together. I got oil in it. I disconnected the plugs from the coils, and I also disconnected my fuel pump. I'm gonna let this thing turn a while because all the oil's out of the oil pump, so it's gotta pick up oil and bring it up to the top. So I'm just gonna sit here and crank and crank and crank probably for about 10-15 minutes. Honestly, it took forever the last time. Okay, I'm just gonna start cranking. Adrian's gonna sit here and look for oil leaks. The oil pressure gauge went up a little bit. Okay. This sounds really good. Got good oil pressure. Letting all those seals get warm. You see where we're at. I know what that noise is. What? You hear that noise? I think it's coming from right here. Oh yeah, we never tightened the exhaust up. Alright, there we go. Now that the exhaust is actually on. It sounds good. All I hear is a little bit of lifter, a little bit of injector. Oil pressure. Huh? Oil pressure still good?
Yeah. Something's leaking.
Where?
Right here. Is that his water? Oil.
Really? Oh my god, dude. Alright, well, I'm dripping oil out of my oil pump again. So I gotta get this plastic back off. So I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna record any of that. I don't know where it's leaking at. There might be a hairline crack in this oil pump somewhere. I honestly don't know where it's leaking from. I think I'm gonna put it in time and run it with all the covers off. It's not leaking any oil out of the seal that I put in. I have no idea. Okay, we just slapped it back together. There was no rips or tears. It wasn't like it was covered in oil. So I don't know if it was leaking out of that seal on the oil pump or if it's leaking out of one of these bolts or what. So we just left the cover off, left all the pulleys off. I'm gonna start it up. I'm just gonna let this run and see if I can see it dripping oil anywhere. Oh, there it is. Right there, it's leaking from the top. You see it? Right there? It's coming from the top up there somewhere. It's leaking out of the gasket. I don't even know if you guys can see it. I'm too scared to get my hand down in there. Seems like it's dripping right out of the top of the oil pump. I don't know where it would be leaking at. I'm back out here. Spent hours last night looking into this. This is the new pump that I ordered, the Chinese knockoff, just in case, worst case scenario. What I can tell on the block, looking at it, I think it's leaking somewhere right up here at the top. I came out with 3 scenarios that it could be. I start with the easiest fix first. These bolts that go in here, I guess, are all different sizes. And I was looking at some of the forums, some people are saying if you don't put those bolts exactly where they go, you'll have leaks. And when I took this apart, I just threw them in a bin, and then I just put them back, you know, where I thought they would go. You know, longer bolts on the sides, shorter bolts in the middle. But I'm gonna take all the bolts out and see if it's that. Now the next thing that could be is that the gasket got pinched somewhere. So instead of it sitting flat on the block like this, there might be a little pinch or a little tear, or it might got snagged. So look, the way this works is it comes up this pickup tube from this pump, comes through this oil filter housing, goes through the oil filter, the oil cooler, comes back through, comes back and then hits the oil pressure gauge, and then goes through the block on this side. There's a hole over here. I'm hoping that it's these bolts. I'm gonna take all these bolts out. Adrian said he's got a set of bolts. He said he's got a couple engines at his house. He's just gonna take all the bolts out, label exactly where they go, bring me all new bolts. Let's start with the easiest of what it could be. Let's take all these bolts out and see where I'm at. All right, I took all the bolts out. It looks like there's only 2 sizes. So I don't know what that one thing was saying. This one right here, maybe a smidge longer than these 2. So maybe like the 2 short ones are supposed to go in the top right there. And this one that's a little bit longer is supposed to go right here. I did have this one up there. So maybe that's where I messed up. These 2 that went in this side over here are the same length. I don't know, guys. This is ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna take this all apart and see if there is if the gasket's bent. I really don't know what else to do. Everything looks fine. You guys probably aren't gonna be able to see, but everything looks fine. I can see the gasket all the way along the top. It's not like it got folded and it's like shorter in one spot or ripped or something. This is gonna drive me nuts. I pretty much just gotta wait for Adrian to come and bring his bolts so I can see what his bolts look like. I have just gone over this thing a million times this morning. I've wiped down the top with alcohol multiple times, got all the oil cleaned up on top of that pump. I can't see if there's a crack in this pump while it's on the car, which even if there was one there, it won't leak. It wouldn't leak until like there's only oil that goes through like this valley. You know what I mean? Because yeah, dude, there'd have to be a deep crack. I don't see how I would have missed that when I cleaned this all up. Well, when I cleaned up the old pump or the factory pump. I don't know what to do. Like I said, I just gotta wait for Adrian to get here. He can't come till 11. Hopefully, best case scenario, the bolts that he brings, they're all different. Hopefully they mixed up these bolts at the engine builder and none of these bolts are right. You could easily mix these bolts up with the water pump bolts, I guess. They look all about the same. So hopefully when he brings his bolts, they're all a little bit shorter. That'd be the best case scenario. If he brings bolts and they're shorter than these, the only thing that could be happening if it has anything to do with the bolts is that these are bottoming out on the block and it's not tightening the pump down. Like, you know what I mean? Like hopefully they're going like that and then hitting the block before the pump gets tight. That's the best case scenario that can happen today. If it's not that, I think I'm just gonna have to take this whole pump back apart. So I will bring you back once Adrian's here and we look at his bolts. Okay, probably the best news yet. Adrian brought his bolts over and they're all shorter. These are the bolts that the engine builder had in there. You're not gonna really be able to tell. This one's actually like 2 to 3 threads taller than these other 2. And look how much taller they are than what the factory calls for. These are Adrian's bolts. You can see his are 33 millimeters pretty much with the head of the bolt. And then these are what the engine builder had in mind. They're 39. They're 6 millimeters shorter than the bolts that the engine builder had in there. So hopefully now the oil pump will get tight on the block and I won't leak. I'm gonna use his short bolts. I'm gonna tighten this thing back down and see where we're at. I'll bring you back when this thing's running. We'll see if it drips oil. Okay, boys, sorry about that. My camera died yesterday. It started dripping. It was a slower drip, but it was still dripping oil. I don't know, we might have screwed up because I torqued them down to 11 foot-pounds like it calls for, but it was warm. So I don't know if, since it was hot metal, if that torque isn't right. I also was watching some guy on YouTube. I came across a video that was having the same problem. And he was saying he thought his oil pump was kind of warped from people torquing it down before. So he torqued his down to 20. So I think I'm going to go to 18. torque it down a little bit more than what it calls for. And I don't know, I'm not smart enough, and I've never dealt with this before. Once that paper gasket is soaked in oil, is it just bad now? You know what I mean? Since this thing's probably completely soaked in oil, is this ever gonna seal again? I don't know. The shorter bolts definitely helped a little bit. It wasn't just pouring out oil. It was a slow drip. But like I said, I don't know if the gasket that's on there is just completely trashed now since it's soaked up with oil. Here's another thing too. When I took this apart the first time, they had these things torqued down, like probably 60 foot-pounds. Like, it took a lot for me to break these bolts loose the first time when I first took this back apart. So maybe the engine builder torqued these down so much that my oil pump is now warped. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe he like torqued it down so much that like this isn't even flat anymore. Just sitting here scratching my head. I'm gonna torque these down, put it all back together. If it leaks, I'm gonna have to take everything back apart. Just use a new oil pump, new gasket, and this time I think I'm gonna put silicone on both sides of the gasket. I think I'm just gonna cover this gasket, both sides of it, pretty much just paint this thing in some red RTV. From what I can look up, I've been looking up online, there's a lot of people that are having problems with the oil pump leaking. Gaskets get blown out over here in this corner and they start dripping oil down through here. I mean, he might have stripped out the block. I might not, it just all sucks. It's all bad, guys. I'm gonna torque these all down to like 18, see if they hold torque, put everything back together, see if it leaks. All right, I think I might have found the problem. These two over here, I cannot get the torque. Every time I go, I put a torque wrench on there, it just keeps spinning. Like, it's not spinning like it's completely stripped out. But I even tried different bolts. I tried my bolts and I tried Adrian's bolts, and I can't get either one of them to actually get tight. So the block might be stripped out. So it might be leaking right here. I'll throw up a picture of what the block looks like back here. That valley, here, I can show you here too. So right here is where it goes into the block. So, and if I can't get this top torqued down, it's probably just leaking right there and it's coming across the top. These all torqued. These two, I cannot get the torque. Cannot get it to click on the torque wrench. Look at that, it just spins like nothing. No matter what I do. This one torques. See? These ones just spin and spin and spin. And it's like easy spinning too. Like, I bet you there's not even 10 pounds on that. So the block has got to be stripped out. It has to be, because I think it's been leaking from this corner. I think it's been leaking and coming over this top right there. And that makes sense because this bolt won't get torqued down. I'll try a smaller torque wrench. Yeah, look, even 10. It just won't torque. What in the hell do I do about that? So, not only did they forget to do stuff, they stripped out my block. Not only did they mess up the cams, not only did they not do the oil pump and rip the seal, the bolts are stripped out because they had these torqued down to probably 60 foot-pounds. It was a lot for me to break these loose. I don't know how to fix a block. What do? You drill it out and tap it a size bigger? Do I like heel coil it? I don't even know if I can do that without pulling the whole engine out. Okay, this is the only other thing I can come up with besides taking this all back apart. I'm gonna at least try this. I put a piece of tie wire in there. See how deep I can go before it hits the bottom of the block. I can go about 3 threads longer, even more. I can probably go about 6 threads longer. I'm gonna go exactly 3 threads longer than the factory bolt on a little bit coarser bolt. Now you see, it's just a little bit longer. Those threads are just a little bit deeper and a little bit farther apart. I don't know what the size is, to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys will be able to tell or not. But these threads are a little bit coarser. Just a bolt I had laying around. I'm gonna see if I can cut it in there and get it to torque. So that's the plan. If I can get it to go in there and at least torque down to 11 foot-pounds, I think this is stripped out. I think that's what my problem's been this whole time. Well, besides the seal. We all know the seal was bad, but I think they also stripped this out. I didn't do it. I would tell you guys. I've told you guys every other thing I've screwed up. If that doesn't work, I've never done the heel coil. Maybe I can have someone that's done it come over, like the turbo guys. Excess boost, hit up one of them guys, see if they can stop over one day. I don't know if you got a drill. I don't know. I don't know how much room they're gonna need to do that. You definitely can't get a drill in here. Like, if I take this whole pump off, they're not gonna have enough room still to put a drill in and drill the block, I don't think. I mean, I'm not screwing up anything worse than it already is. If I screw up the threads, it still needs to be tapped or heel coiled. However the hell you say that word. It's feeling good going in. There we go. I should just be barely hitting the spot that's longer. There we go. Alright, it's torqued. I believe everything's torqued. Let's see if it leaks. That sucks that I just had to do that, but at least I got some new threads in there. I think I'm only biting on like 4 threads, to be honest with you, because that's just a fraction longer than the factory bolt, and I think it just, you know, went 2 or 3 threads longer and finally torqued down to something. Okay, like I said, I don't know, even if we got it torqued down, I don't really know about paper gaskets. If it's soaking wet already, is it ever going to seal again? I honestly don't know. Oh yeah, it's leaking, I see it. I think it's leaking right out of the top. It is, it's leaking right out of the fucking top. Why? It's leaking like right out of that top bolt.
Right in the middle?
Yeah, it's leaking like right here. Came from like right here and leaked over. This bolt definitely tore down, so I don't get it. This sucks so bad. Alright guys, that's gonna be the end of this video. I hate to do you like that, but we gotta take this all back apart. Maybe there's a couple of you guys just laughing at me right now. Once the paper gasket gets wet, it's ruined. I'm gonna clean this all up. Talk to my one buddy, see if he can come over and put heel coils in there if I need them. And like I said earlier, I'm gonna use this pump, this gasket, and I'm gonna put red RTV on both sides of this gasket. I'm just gonna pretty much paint this gasket in RTV. Hopefully I can get a video out Monday still for you guys. I don't know. This one's gonna come out today. I still would love to get this thing on the road by Monday. I think if we just come in one day and just hit it, we can get it all tore back apart, put back together in one day. Just pray it doesn't leak.